When we think of World War I, we often envision trenches, soldiers, and a world in turmoil. But where are the women in this picture? Picture this: a world at conflict, with nations pitting against each other and soldiers marching off to the front lines. But amidst this male-dominated narrative, there's a missing piece: the women. In the shadows of this global conflict, women were not just sitting idly by. They were an integral part of the war effort, contributing in ways that have often been overlooked, undervalued, and forgotten. From the home front to the very trenches, women were there. They served as nurses, factory workers, and even frontline soldiers. Their roles were diverse and their contributions immeasurable. Yet, their stories have been largely overshadowed by the traditional narrative of war. But women were there, unseen, unheard, but indispensable. Let's delve into their untold stories. As men marched off to war, women stepped into roles they had never filled before. The home front became a battlefield of its own, where women were the soldiers. They traded their aprons for overalls and their homes for factories. They became machinists, welders, and munitions workers, their hands crafting the very weaponry their loved ones would wield on the front lines. In the absence of men, women also stepped up to run businesses, manage finances, and keep the economy afloat. They were the backbone of a war-torn society, ensuring the survival and progress of their communities. But their roles did not stop there. Women also served as pillars of emotional support, sending letters and care packages to the front lines, providing a lifeline to the soldiers fighting abroad. These women were more than just wives, mothers, and daughters. They were warriors in their own right. They kept the home fires burning, and their efforts on the home front were crucial to the war effort. But the home front was not the only place where women made their mark. Far from the safety of their homes, women bravely stepped into the trenches, serving as nurses and aid workers on the front lines. Their job was not for the faint-hearted. They faced the grim realities of war daily, tending to wounded soldiers, offering comfort in the face of despair, and sometimes even pulling men from the battlefield. Take, for instance, the story of Nurse Edith Cavell. She not only cared for the wounded, but was also instrumental in helping over 200 Allied soldiers escape from German-occupied Belgium. Then there was Elsie Knocker and Mary Chisholm, the courageous duo known as the Madonnas of Pervyse, who set up their own first aid post in a cellar mere yards from the front line. These women, and many more like them, exhibited exceptional bravery and resilience. Their contributions in the trenches were invaluable, providing comfort and care in the midst of chaos. When the war ended, the world had changed, and so had the roles of women. This monumental conflict did more than reshape geopolitical borders. It also had an indelible impact on gender dynamics. Women, having stepped into roles traditionally held by men, found a newfound sense of empowerment and agency. The war had thrown open the doors of opportunity, and women were not keen to see them shut again. In many nations, the end of the war marked the beginning of women's suffrage. The tireless war efforts of women were finally recognised, marking a significant step towards equality. But the journey was far from over. There were many who resisted this change, who sought to return to the pre-war status quo. This resistance brought about a new fight, a battle for gender equality that would last well into the 20th century. The war had ended, but the fight for equality was just beginning. The legacy of these women is far-reaching and profound. It's a tale that has reshaped our understanding of the Great War and the course of women's history. The women of World War I, from the home front to the trenches, were not just bystanders or victims. They were active participants, contributors, and heroes. They nursed the wounded, maintained the homes, worked in factories, and even served on the front lines. Their stories give us a fuller, more nuanced picture of the war. It's about time we remember and honour these women, not as mere footnotes in history, but as key players. Their bravery, tenacity, and resilience are a testament to the power of the human spirit. They have set a precedent for future generations, showing that courage and fortitude know no gender. These were the untold stories of women in World War I, the forgotten heroes whose courage and resilience shaped our world.